Welcome to Meeting Malkmus, a pavement podcast. Hey, it's JD here, back for another episode of the old Meeting Malkmus podcast. You thought you could get rid of me when I interviewed Steve, but hey, there's more to it than that. You might have seen my Twitter over the last couple of weeks that I've been doing a little roadie overseas to catch the boys in the band, and boy, oh boy, did I have a fucking blast. I sealed the deal, and I actually met SM officially. I'm going to get into that and a whole bunch more with some of the people that I got to hang out with on what I'm calling the UK Roundtable. That's right. You're going to hear from the likes of Dan from London. You're going to hear from Tony from Glasgow, and you're going to hear from Richard from Leeds, and me. Unfortunately, you're going to have to listen to me too. Regale you with our tales of the UK tour from Leeds all the way through to London, and I managed to hit 6 of 8 of those shows, and I'm fucking thrilled, man. It was just a blast to not only catch Pavement and to catch up with them, but also to catch up with these lovely lads and their cohorts. It was a great deal of fun. And I wish I could win the lotto right now and I could head back out on the road. I take my family with me this time because I missed them. I really missed them, and that's tough. The boys in the band had their family with them. And again, we'll get into that as we go through this UK Roundtable. But before that, why don't we listen to a song from the tour? This comes from the Roundhouse on the 25th of October. This is Stereo on Meeting Malkmus, a pavement podcast.
Oh, yeah.
The chalks with the agents and the dates. If the signatures is checked, you'll just have to wait. I'm counting up the instances that I say. Tired so depraved. From the cheese we see us sway to the camera. Take a giant ramrod to raise a demon son. But hi-ho, silver.
very special thing here on the show, something we've never done. We're doing a roundtable, but this isn't any ordinary roundtable. This is an extraordinary roundtable full of extraordinary people that I got to share some, warm beer with, and some cold beer as well, some Guinnesses. Yeah, there was a lot of beer consumed. Now that I think about it, but one thing we all have in common is our love of the titular band Pavement, and it was a great time had by all, I think, on this tour, and we're gonna recap it here all for the next little bit. So, Rich, how you doing?
I'm good, JD. Lovely to meet you last week.
Yeah, it feels like a little longer ago, but or it feels like just yesterday rather. But yeah, it was like a full week plus.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, just Manchester. Well, I did Leeds and Manchester, of course. Tell me how 4 days at the Roundhouse were.
Oh, well, we'll get to the roundhouse. We'll go in order. We'll go in order. But before we do anything, I'd love to know your Pavement origin story.
Oh, okay. Start with me. Right. Well, I suppose my gateway into Pavement was probably Nirvana. As a kid, I liked sort of rock music and all that sort of thing. And when Smells Like Teen Spirit hit, it was like, oh, I actually quite like this. And from that, I sort of ventured. There was a record store close by to where I worked, and I would go in there, and I'd literally just look through the CDs, looking for band names that I liked, and chanced upon Slanted. It had probably been released 4 months previously, something like that. Bought the CD, took it home, loved it. Went back to the store a few days later, got the Watery Domestic EP, which is still probably my favourite recording. And then a few days after that, I found the compilation of all the early stuff, the Westing CD. So that was my introduction to the band. Loved all of it, and subsequently every album that came out just got bought, played on rotation until the end the end back then in 1999. Obviously, we now have tours again and what have you. So yeah, the initial journey ended in the penultimate gig in Manchester. I was present for that one, and then
Wow.
and then I've had to wait 23 years to pick the baton up, as it were.
Wow. That's so cool that you got in right near the beginning and never faltered. But that Watery EP, man, that slammed it home, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely! Yeah, you really got the band after that. Definitely.
Yeah. Dan, how about you? What is your Pavement origin story?
Hi, JD. Yeah, back with you
Hey.
again. I think it was only
Yeah.
like 5 days ago.
Right.
I mean, for me, the early bits of Pavement kind of passed me by, and it was 1994. I was at somebody's house drinking a lot of things, and they had this tape, and it was a double-sided tape, and it was just Gentleman by Afghan Wigs on one side, and then it was Crooked Rain on the other, and
Oh, wow.
just Crooked Rain came on, and that was it. It was just like you just sort of knew that it was just something amazing, and that whole album just, I don't know, the track listing and the vibe on that whole thing is just, it's just amazing. I think it really just takes you somewhere else, and every time I listen to it now, it still takes me back. It's just a fantastic thing. I kind of I missed a lot of early stuff, a lot of early gigs and things like that. Reading, I was there in 92 or 93, and Pavement were on, but I didn't see them because I ran back to my tent to have some beans or something. I could kind of hear them in the background. So I had to wait till the first reunion tour. Was that 2012, I think? But
Yeah,
it was
something
at
like
Brixton Academy but I got tickets, stupidly got tickets for the balcony because I think I was just really nervous about going, really nervous about seeing them. So I didn't have that much of a great time at that gig. Yeah, I think I was a bit overwhelmed, but then it was good to see him in Porto and good for these shows. Yeah.
Cool. Tony, how about you?
It's really strange. I was at Reading as well, and I know Rich from talking last week. Rich was at Reading Festival in '92 as well. So I went to see a lot of other bands that were playing that day or the whole weekend. And it was my mate Jerry and John. They took me along and said, "Oh, come and listen to Pavement." And I think it was John that was pushing that. And that was it. The guitar sound kind of captured me. I was like, that's what I want. That's what I want to listen to. That kind of music, that style of guitar. And then John gave me a cassette. So it was kind of carbon copy, as Dan there, like a cassette of Slanted Enchanted. And I would just listen to that a lot. Then I don't know if you guys remember a band called Captain America that became Eugenius with Eugene Kelly from the Vaselines. I swapped a Captain America CD for the Watery Domestic CD.
Oh,
and I was like,
you win there.
A good trade. And that was the start of my collection.
Wow. Oh, that's very cool. Oh, man. So we got to experience this band in person. We missed, I missed Leeds. I initially was going to fly into Leeds, but I wanted to spend an extra day in Scotland. So I flew into Glasgow instead, and I missed Leeds. But Rich, you were there. How did that show go for you?
Leeds was great. I mean, we'll come on to it later on when we talk about, things that were, maybe we'd have liked to have seen. But the instant feeling was one of just, happiness on all sides. I was happy, but more importantly, the band looked happy. When I've seen them play in the past, it's whether it's that sort of indie thing, looking at your feet, and we're not here to enjoy ourselves, that sort of thing. But it was playful. The sound was great. Subsequently hearing that they'd only just flown in, we're all jet lagged to hell. And Malcolm was calling Leeds his favourite gig, which obviously quite pleased me. But yeah, the set was great. I was with a friend of mine's brother-in-law, so I actually got to go to a concert with somebody who liked the music as well, which was a first for me, because in the past I've always like Dan been either sat up in the balcony as Billy No Mates or tucked away in the corner on the floor just enjoying the music and not really getting a chance to rock out. So yeah, it was a great opener for me, and yeah, a really, really lively, fun gig. Yeah, brilliant.
Any highlights?
I'm anything where Bob does his thing, so Unfair. Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
just such a great song, and the way he does it, and he's about the stage, and it just, yeah, he's the secret ingredient to the band's live success, I would say.
I totally agree. And he's got the best job in the world. You know, like he just sort of picks up and does, like when you see him on stage, and I had a real cool vantage point in London. When you see him just sort of wandering around on stage, it's not wandering. It's very focused, but it's like going from station to station to station, you know, and 1 minute he is screaming his lungs out, and I got to ask him like how he has a voice after some of these gigs, and he told me he's a lozenge addict. So there it is. Yeah. Dan's holding up a package of, well, we call them different things. Here we call them cough candies. What do you call them?
Just your cough sweets would be
Cough sweets. All right. So similar idea. In the US they call them oh gosh, I forget what they call them, but then they shoot you. No, I'm joking. So we'll flip to Glasgow, and a weird series of events happened in Glasgow. I gotta say, I was able to meet Tony and his crew and tell them that earlier that day I had walked out of my hotel and I actually had my first meeting Malcolmus moment where Steve was just sitting on a picnic table outside of my hotel on his phone, and I didn't want to bother him, so I told him so. I just wanted to wish him good luck for the gig, and but he was more than willing to chat, even though he was like, I just basically got up, and but he asked me how I was doing, and how my trip had been, and if we were going to go to other gigs, and yeah, he was very affable. So that was real cool to be able to share that story with Tony, and then go to the famous Barrowland. I
But also, and if you remember JD as well, I got a message from my brother. He was out. He wasn't going to Pavement.
Oh,
but he was
right.
out, and he was out for dinner. And then he sent me a message of Mark and Malcolmus in the kind of Cafe Gandolfi in Glasgow. And he'd got a signed menu for me.
That was very cool.
And I was like, so JD's met him, my brother's met him. This isn't fair. Unfair.
But wait, there'll be more to this story. What did you think of the show that night at the Barrowland?
Oh, I loved it. I enjoyed the support band, Pictish Trail. I'd been to see them a couple of weeks before, kind of in preparation, and I thought they rocked. Like, they really loud. The lead singer's fantastic, a lot of character, a lot of personality, and I enjoyed the support. And then when the band came on, it was kind of like a joyous reunion celebration. There's something kind of magical in the air, I think.
Yeah.
So really enjoyed it. And all through the show, and I know Brian that was there, he was like, we were waiting for Here. Because in the 2010 reunion tour, Here supposedly was on the set list, and then there was amp problems, they didn't come on, or they didn't finish the encore, and we didn't get Here last time in Glasgow. And then I think I went to Primavera Barcelona, and again, they played 26, 27 songs over 2 hours, but there was no Here. And again, I think it was maybe on the set list as a possibility, but then they ran out of time. So I was waiting for Here, and then we got that as the closer for the show. So that was a big moment.
That was a great moment, because even I was rooting for Brian at that point, and I had just only met him. But it was like, oh my gosh, where is he? I remember looking around, like, where is he? Where is he? Because he had wandered a little bit. Away from us. I don't know whether we were rocking too hard for him or not, but good merch. I thought the merch was really good at all the shows as well. I didn't see pennants, but I saw them in London. But they had cool posters. They had real cool posters that they were selling, and I love that 20th century Pavement Fox shirt so much that I had to buy that one. Even at £35, I I had to buy that. Had to have it. So the highlight for you then is here, obviously.
There was also, during the set, they did Summer Babe into Frontwards, I think,
Yes.
sequence, and those two together are, we'll talk about it later, like your most pavementy track, but I would be between those two, and they did them back to back, so that was amazing as well.
Well, let's talk about that right now, actually. What would you say to somebody that you're introducing to Pavement? You know, you have one song to play them. What song is that going to be? And why?
It would be Frontwards or Summer Babe. I could toss a coin and ask me tomorrow, it'll be the other side of the coin. I think just it typifies the guitar sound, the vocals. There'll be lyrical hooks that just catch you and you think, what do they mean? But they probably don't mean too much, but they sound amazing. So probably Frontwards.
That was my pick as well. Frontwards. It's got all the hallmarks of a great Pavement track. It's great guitar sound. I love the lyric. You know, it's sufficiently SME. You know, the lyric. It's just a wonderful song. I feel like it could be a hit in any era, you know, but alas, it was on an EP of a band that was a little too underground, I suppose, you know, to really break through. Of course, Summer Babe did break through, and but Frontwards, not as much. All right, so then here's the story. Tony and I decided to wait outside because Tony's got some 7-inches to give to Bob. What were the records?
So I don't know if you were listening to the Disco Graffiti podcast. I think there was like about 6 or 7 episodes. Bob was on a lot of them. And they were going through everything from Slay Tracks up to Terror Twilight and everything in between. So it was a great podcast, and it's still there on the Disco Graffiti account. But at different points, he'd said, oh yeah, I need to look for the stereo 7-inch. And then he said, I don't have Range Life, which is a bit surprising, but maybe just he wasn't into collecting at the time. The same way that Spiral was, for example. But so I tweeted him through, not a direct message, I think just through Twitter. And he gets back to us because he's very, very accessible on Twitter. He always responds to people. He's really open and so friendly. So I said, I've got some 7-inches, and he's trying to catch up. So we tried to organise it, but I didn't see him at the venue.
So we decide to wait outside to see if Bob comes out for a smoke, and so Tony can pass these along. And we wait, and we wait, and we wait, and we don't see him. So we're both a little despondent, but we're both feeling a little bit high as well because we just saw a really great show. So the way I tell the story is we go and grab some Mexican takeaway, and I feel like Tony feels a little bit responsible for getting me back to my hotel because I don't know where the fuck I am and I'm really drunk. So I'm like, well, why don't we just sit and eat in my lobby? Because it's set up for, social, settings like that. So we go back and we start eating our burrito and chips. And then tell us what happened after that, Tony.
Well, I was kind of at my back to the door, and I think JD said something, just don't look now, but Malcolmus is there. Malcolmus is outside. He's coming in. I was like, and obviously a bit starstruck. But again, he couldn't have been more gracious, and he was tired. I think he'd messed up a couple of lyrics or guitar lines on the Glasgow show. You'd have to look really closely to notice because it was so amazing. But he missed I think he was tired, but he still, said hello, talked about the gig, then headed up to his room.
Yeah. And from there, it was a parade. Because from there, about 10 minutes later, Tony and I are still starstruck. We're barely eating our food at this point because we're just talking about this moment. And all of a sudden, Rebecca, Mark, and Bob walk in. And we say hi to them, and they give us a bit of time.
And I was able to give Bob the records as well.
and he gives Bob the records, and they have a little conversation. Rebecca was the most shy, I felt, but Mark was pretty shy as well. They sort of stood off to the side. They were looking to unwind with a glass of wine. It had been Mark's birthday the night before in Leeds, so I guess they just wanted to celebrate. But they weren't serving drinks in this area that we were in because the cash register was broken, or some bullshit like that. They told us, so we couldn't buy them a drink, and we really wanted to. And that became even more important when Steve West and Spiral walk in about 10 minutes later, and they both wanted a drink. They definitely wanted a drink. They sat down with us. In one of my favorite moments of the day, they walk in, and Spyro recognized me, and Westy had done the power walk to the elevator, but Spyro stops him and he's like, "Westy, come back, it's JD." And I just felt so goddamn cool at that moment. I was probably just bursting with a smile. And they sat down and they probably talked to us for what, Tony, like a half hour?
Yeah, they were chilling and relaxing
and eating all your chips.
But couldn't get a drink. That was the only thing I wanted to. I'd have loved to have bought them a beer.
Yeah, me too. But Spiral helped himself to Tony's chips. He looked like he needed some street food as well. So I think he was a bit jealous of our takeaway. So that was just icing on a cake. For me, of all the shows that we saw, that one's going to stand out for me because it was the first one, and all that shit happened in that day. That was bonkers to me. That was just bonkers, and it was a great set list. And I think what we'll do right now is we'll listen to Tony's song that he chose. We'll give Frontwards a spin. So here it is on Meeting Malkmus, a Pavement podcast. Okay, we're back. And that's a fucking great song. That's just a great song. So Edinburgh was crazy for me because it was because of all the castles and stuff. That was far out. But where did we meet there?
Just in the pub outside the venue. Was it Shakespeare?
Oh, that's right,
Watching the
Shakespeare.
football.
That's right. I met you and Brian. I'm getting all fuzzy because before I met you, I met the Conundrum boys, or two of the Conundrum boys. I met Paul and Chris at a sports pub. Well, they met at my hotel, and then we walked to a pub to watch the Celtic game and talk about Pavement and talk about their podcast and talk about wrestling. So we had a fucking whale of a time over several pints of Guinness. And then I wandered my way back over to meet you and Brian. And we had a couple drinks. And while we were sitting down having a couple drinks, I got a message. And it turned out we were going to be going to the after show. And I got to tell Tony that. And we were sort of gobsmacked. That was so it almost in a way for me it almost took away from the show because I was so anxious the entire show about meeting them backstage. Like that was going to be otherworldly, and I was nervous.
Yeah, me too. I didn't know how it was going to work. I thought the support band would be there. Some of the band might be there. Some might head off. There'd be other kind of road crew, hangers-on, other people and so on. But yeah, but you can come to that after the show maybe, because I thought that show was outstanding. The band were just in such a good mood. They were in a great mood. That was the famous one of Bob dancing. That the wee clip that was on Twitter. They did another great set, very different from the night before. Trigger Cut was probably my highlight of the set that night because they didn't do it in Glasgow. I was waiting for it in Edinburgh. So yeah, great set. And then the end, Fillmore Jive, Malcolm started just kind of playing the chords a wee bit. Then he says, "Oh, let's introduce the band." And when he said that, he'd done the same at Primavera, and that was the intro to Wichita Toe. So I thought, oh, that's Wichita Toe. But he started to play some chords. Then they went round the band and they were just having a laugh. They were, joking with each other. Everyone was taking a turn of introducing the next person. They just seemed like they were having the best time. Like, oh yeah, really enjoying all the in-jokes and poking fun at everybody, but laughing at themselves. It was, and all the time, the chords were just going in the background. And then they kicked into an amazing version of Fillmore Jive at the end. And that finished it off, and that was like an amazing, amazing encore. Yeah, I would say that was my highlight. That was my highlight of the show was Fillmore Jive, and like coupled with the introductions. It's funny because they did introductions at most shows, but not every show. But usually when they did them, they did sort of fun things with them. Like Steve would come up with different names for people, or I think he used like rhyming. Didn't he use rhyming in Edinburgh? Wasn't he making them? Yeah. I forget, man. Yeah, I was so focused on this after party thing because I had no idea what it was, and I had got access in Toronto, and I didn't go. I didn't even go. So I was. Am I going to go? Am I going to do this? Am I going to suck it up? And Tony held my hand, and we went back. And they were again very gracious and laid back, super chill. And it was really, when we went in at the start, it was just me, you, and the band. Yeah. So I had a good opportunity to talk to Mark Eibold, who I've never spoke with before. That was really neat. I got to ask him where he ate in Toronto because he is a foodie, and I wanted to know what he thought of the cuisine here, and he regaled me with stories of that. So that was really cool. Tony was talking to Spiral most of the time, I feel like. Yeah, I think we're comparing our collections, and Spiral wins, obviously. But he was telling us about the most kind of the rarest things that he had. Some Fella Heen is an Australian label, and they had released kind of miniature-sized records at some point, and he was telling us how he's got the original plates from the pressing of Slay Tracks, but he doesn't have the cassettes. He thinks they're maybe still in Gary's house. The original cassettes of Slay Tracks he doesn't have, but he would love to get his hands on.
Oh man, that would be cool. Like a reissue of Slay Tracks. Oh. So that was our night in Edinburgh, and that was a freaking great night. By the time we walked out, Tony split first because he had to go meet Brian. I ended up going for a kebab with Mark and Spiral, and that was, again, I felt like I was on another fucking planet. That was just the weirdest thing ever. I don't even know what to say about it. It was just weird because I was standing there with the two of them, and there was this table of people just like me who were like looking at the band, and one of them finally got the courage to say, "Hey guys, we flew all the way from the US to see you." And then, you know, they got to talk to them for a bit, and that was very surreal because if I was in their role, I'd be wondering who the fuck is this third person with Pavement. And I got to be that person for a bit, so that was cool. From there we went to Manchester, and I met Rich and Tony both in a pub. We almost missed Tony, but we found him, and we gathered around a small table. I sat in a throne. It was this ginormous chair while Tony was stuck on a little stool, and Rich had a regular sized chair. It was a Goldilocks situation was going on there. Rich, before we get into the show, what is your most Pavement-y track?
Oh, well, JD, I have been typically obtuse, I suppose, is the way to put it, given the band we're talking about. So I've definitely gone left field, and okay. I have gone for Sensitive Euroman.
Oh, wow. That is out of left field.
That's totally out of left field, but every time I hear it, and funnily enough, it's a track, if there was ever a track that I used to skip past on those reissues, it was that one. And then I just let it play, and I suddenly got it, and it's very Maltmusy,
yeah.
In terms of the lyrics, the very vague, and again use that word obtuse. The guitars chime along and build to quite a deafening crescendo at the end, and the drums have that, you know, that typical beat that I would say goes with a Pavement track. I will give a special mention to another completely left field track, and it's not so much the track, it's more the how I feel it was written and built, and it's again totally off left field, and it's Space Ghost Part 2.
What?
which was obviously done for, I think Space Ghost was a kids' TV program in the States, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't get it over here. I think I've seen stuff on YouTube of the performances and what have you. But that bit particularly just looks like it was crafted, if you like, in a jamming session. You know, it's just, if that took 20 minutes to write, I'd be amazed. It probably took 10. And again, it just adds to that whole shambolic side of the band, you know, that they just run with things sometimes, and I just think it's, yeah. If I was going to play two songs to a complete Pavement virgin, that's where I'd go. Now whether they'd like the band after that, that's who knows, because this is all horribly subjective.
Oh, of course it is, but it's like I almost feel like if you put the thought and the care into selecting those tracks for somebody and they didn't like it, then shame on them. They're missing out, you know?
Yeah, I'd probably wind my neck in and then pick two more sensible ones.
No, I think that's great. So let's we'll get Tony back on here and talk us through this show, guys.
Well,
How
I
did
was
the show go for
watching
you?
that from upstairs.
So that's right. We
I
all
was
tried to go
in the
down
seating area.
downstairs, but
And then I didn't think I would get you downstairs, so I watched it from the seated area up top. That was different, but it was enjoyable as well because you got to see, I don't know, the crowd response more, I think.
And the crowd was really pogo sticking. Like, I mean, they were really leaping up and down, despite, for me, up until this point, this is the third show, I thought it was a more subdued show. Not in a bad way, but I mean, they opened with, if I'm not mistaken, they opened with Major Leagues, right?
Yeah,
That's right.
So right off the bat, you're setting the tone. You're sort of saying that this is going to be a little different show. This is going to be, you know, a different vibe. But man, when they played the rockers, people were rocking. So I don't know. There was a review on Twitter or Facebook where somebody eviscerated this show, and I'm here to say that I thought the show was fantastic. Like I thought it was great. But it would have been a cool show to be sitting for because it was different. Like it just had a different vibe than Glasgow and Edinburgh for sure. What was your impression, Rich?
Yeah. I think I agree with what you said. It was definitely more muted than Leeds had been, but in a good way. That's certainly not a criticism. Starting off with Major Leagues really seemed to sort of set the tone, and on it went from there. The venue's fantastic. Manchester Apollo, I think, one of the best venues in the country. The floor slopes right up to the back, so even if you're at the back, you've got a cracking view of the stage. The balcony. Tony will have got a great view up there, and it's just a really old traditional venue, which sadly there aren't too many left of in the UK. So if you're going to pick somewhere to see Pavement, the perfect spot. But yeah, the band were great. Again, everything was light-hearted. There's no egos anymore. I think that's a good way of putting it. You know, the band, you know, they're happy playing, they're happy together. And it was interesting to see later as well that they're actually touring with the families as well. You know, they've brought the kids over, and I think that all adds to that happy place where they're playing from.
Yeah, I think so too. Tony, what was the highlight for you that night?
That one's harder to pin down. The Kennel District is, I think I tweeted, that's become my new favourite show. No, so I'm looking at the wrong column. I've got the spreadsheet with all the tour dates. Oh no, that was it. Yeah, Feed Them to the Linden Lions.
Oh yeah,
that was a new one for me. That was of the Primavera, Glasgow and Edinburgh. That had frontwards. I think was the only
Watery song
from Watery. So then to get another one from Watery was good. And Kennel District, because you know Scott was just so cool to hang out with and chat to. So then to hear some of his top songs, Date with IKEA and Kennel District, over the few nights, I really enjoyed those.
Incidentally, and this will give away when we're recording this, did you see that last night they opened in Copenhagen with Date with IKEA?
No, I didn't see the set list.
I was shocked. Like that's the first time I think they've opened with a Scott song since probably the 90s sometimes. You know? Very wild.
In two states, I think there's been every night. I think that's the...
Pretty much.
There's only a few songs. Harness Your Hopes, I think, is every night for the TikTok generation. And two states, I think, seems to be every night. Range Life quite a lot, but it's so hard to predict any set list.
Yeah, so I don't know what system Bob has, but it's Bob that's doing the set lists, and then he's basically running it past the guys and, you know, making tweaks as they go. And then, of course, they make changes on the stage sometimes too.
I mean, JD, look at the encore. Grave Architecture, followed by Silence Kid, Father to a Sister of Four, Cut Your Hair, and Witchy Taito, which I hadn't heard before, so that was interesting.
Oh, so good. That's a great encore. We should listen to one of those songs right now. Which one do you want to hear?
Silence Kid.
All right, let's go. This is Silent Kid, hopefully from the Manchester show if I can find it on Medium Alchemist, a Pavement podcast. All right, Dan, you're up.
All right, the microphone is back on.
Excellent, because we from here I bid adieu to Tony, who was sticking around in Manchester for a couple of days. Did you end up going to see the football match?
No, we didn't go. It would
didn't.
have been awful late for the family to get back on the Saturday night. But we went to Old Trafford just to have a wee look around the stadium, and my wee boy enjoyed that.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. Yeah, and we ended up kicking off the night with we stopped at a bar that looked like it was a friendly establishment, and it was friendly, but it was a karaoke bar, and we got to do a little karaokeing and more beer drinking. So that was cool. Before I traveled off to Liverpool to hang out with my good friend's cousin and get a Beatles tour. And then I took a bus from Liverpool to London. So I got to see, well, it was on the motorway, so it wasn't, it wasn't great views or vistas, but I got to see a lot of the country driving in a bus because it was about a 6-hour ride. And that's where I connected with Dan. And we ended up having a wicked few days together. But we started out with the London, that first London, the second London show. We missed the first London show, and we went to the second London show, which was Sunday night. And what were you thinking, Dan?
I mean, the first night again, it was raining so badly as well. So the start of the night, didn't go too well. So we were dodging the rain, and we got to the pub and we got in there, and it was it was a good gig, but it was just disrupted by a guy that kept talking about 1992 and how much better they were then. And
I forgot about him.
Yeah, I had to leave before he got punched. So if you were that guy that was standing next to me at the back, I don't understand where you were going with that. It was just going around in circles. It was just, I think he was going to go through the floor with that eventually. Yeah, spiraling downwards. It was terrible. We had to get away before violence happened.
Yeah, I think he just wanted to tell you he was there in. I think he just wanted to tell you he was there in '92.
Yeah, he's trying to be a cool cat.
And he did about 8 times before I said, I get that, and I get how you appreciate they might have been better to you, but I like to listen, I don't want to miss this.
Yeah.
Because at this point, we didn't have tickets to any other shows. We were going to be hanging out. We were just going to be hanging out in London. But as luck would have it, we ended up getting into the next 2 shows, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But I want to know what your highlights were from that first show.
It's all a bit of a blur, really. The first show. I mean, it was good. So getting in and them starting with Grounded, because that's always fantastic. But I don't remember that much else about it. I can't remember that much of the set list. But I do remember that when we went out for a break and we went to the outside bar for the first time, we bumped into Stuart Lee, the comedian, who was not happy because he'd broken his ankle.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. You were going to introduce me to him, and then we thought the better of it.
Yeah, he didn't look too he didn't look too receptive to meeting new people. He was struggling to get through a door with his drink.
Right. I'm trying to pull up the set list right now. It was hold please. There it is. So they opened with Our Singer.
Okay.
That night. They opened with Grounded the next night, but they opened with Our Singer, Stereo, then Frontwards, and then they played Cream of Gold, which they haven't played very much on this tour. But I don't know. We got Debris Slide that night. We got Shoot the Singer from Watery. We got a nice encore. We ended with Fillmore Jive again. So that was really great for me. And I love Father to a Sister of Thought, and they played that as well, leading into the encore. Yeah. So that was just fucking awesome. I don't know how else to say it. I'm so erudite, fucking awesome, man. From there, we went to a pub afterwards, and it was a very friendly pub because they were playing Pavement inside, which was really great. And that was just a great night. A great night. From there, I ended up finding out that we got special seats for the next 2 gigs, and it meant that we were going to London 3 and London 4. And London 3, as Dan mentioned, opened with Grounded. And the special thing about London 3 was we were in the Roundhouse. We were in the side stage in a I'll call it a VIP booth, but I hate saying that because we weren't very important. We were just regular Joes up there. And it was pretty empty, except for Steven's daughter was up there cheering her father on like mad. She was just, "Go, Daddy, go, go, Daddy, go." And, he would look over his shoulder a little bit and, give her the thumbs up. And when they walked off stage arm in arm. That was really special. Like, Malcolmus is an enigma, and to see him have that really human moment, really sealed the deal. Just like yesterday, I was on Twitter, and there was a picture of him in Copenhagen with Mark and Bob and another gentleman who I didn't know. And then the second picture is just Bob and Steven and that same gentleman. And Steven is smiling. And I don't think I've ever seen him smile before, like a legit full on shit eating grin, and it was so cool to see. We got Painted Soldiers that night. We got Fame Thrower. We got Conduit for sale. So they went into Wowie a little bit. Of course, we got Harness Your Hopes.
We got Motion Suggest Itself, which was insane.
Yeah, I agree. And then they ended the night with Wichita Toe, which to me, I thought I had it all figured out. I thought I had it figured out that they sort of played that song when they were, done in an area, but that's not the case. So they can just throw it out whenever they need to. Any other highlights for you from that night, Dan?
Well, I mean, it was an offbeat set list, and it was just fantastic being up there with Mountain's daughter and this amazing vantage point. I say, looking down on Bob from the side and seeing him do his thing was absolutely fantastic. Yeah, that just really just enhanced everything when you can see Bob going for it, really going for it. Fantastic.
And then the backstage area was really cool because it was on like this staircase that was outside. And I had a nice conversation with Steve West's wife and with Spiral's wife. I didn't really talk to much of the band that night. I talked to Steve West a little bit, and I saw Malcolmus with the birthday cake. They had a big birthday cake for his daughter backstage. We met some cool people from Domino Records. Or they used to work for Domino Records. They don't anymore. They were very nice. What else? Anything else?
I got to catch up with Remco.
Oh, right.
And I got to have that. I had that conversation with Steve West about why Detectorists was his favorite TV show.
Oh, right.
Which is good.
Well, that I don't know.
Your taste.
Yeah, very good. You need to catch that if you can, JD.
My list is so long of stuff that I have to watch. It's unreal. But I'll add it to the list. I'll certainly add it to the list. One of the cool moments for me that night was Bob whisking through the crowd to leave, and he shakes Dan's hand, and he says, "Hey, are you coming tomorrow night?" And Dan's like, "No, we don't have tickets." And Bob's like, "I'll set you up." Just like that, just like they're old friends. And sure enough, Bob came through and set him up. So that leads to London 4, where there was now 4 of us. We had Emery from the Pavement Conundrum join me with my extra ticket, and we had Dan's friend Jas join him. So we were a foursome. And we went up to this VIP area again. This night, however, it was fucking rammed up there. It was rammed full of people, including Nigel Godrich. This time there were real famous people. There was Nigel Godrich, there was Thurston Moore, and there was a bunch of other people who I don't know, but I'm sure Dan knows because he knows more than me.
Yeah, there was Deb Googe out of My Bloody Valentine. And with her was Brick Smith, so X4.
Wow.
And Brick Smith became my impromptu drinks bodyguard at the bar, which was amazing.
Going back for a second, I want to ask you what your most Pavement Tea song is.
It's really difficult to define. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you can look at all the elements that make up a Pavement song, and there's some ones that are always there, and then there's some shifting, changing things that aren't necessarily there, particularly with different lineups. I mean, I love stuff like Stop Breathing, Grounded. I absolutely love Blackout, Shoot the Singer, Gold Sounds, but I don't know. I think I'm hankering towards, like, in a weird way, Texas Never Whispers. It's always going to be an offbeat choice, but it's just fantastic. It's just got everything,
Yeah. Got fuzz at the beginning. Yeah. Really melodic though. Yeah. Well,
Yeah, great lyrics. Absolutely great lyrics.
well, overall, I think my trip was a massive success. I don't think I could have ever, if I had written down before I left, like my absolute dream wish, I don't think I would have come close to what actually happened. And it all happened so randomly and so strangely. And I'm so glad I got to share it with you guys. It was a lot of fun, and I hope we all stay in touch and in contact. And I hope to be able to come back soon, because I really fell in love with your countries, and your cities, and you all. Like, I mean, it was a real great time. So thank you so much for being so hospitable and kind, and wanting to meet up in the first place.
You're welcome, JD, and you're welcome anytime when you come over. You don't need a hotel around here. You stay at ours.
Oh, thank you so much. So any last words from anybody here?
I'm trying to think what I wrote down.
No, I would just echo just what it said there. Always welcome in Glasgow, JD. And just I had a great week. I couldn't have planned at the start of the week. I'd done all the stuff that I got to do, meet the people I got to meet. I mean, it's all just kind of by chance, like through Twitter, getting in touch, just making connections. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
So really pleased to meet you.
Thank
well, not quite in your guys' leagues, but I did get a hug off Bob, so I was very pleased about that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the one thing. We were supposed to be on a list in Manchester, but the band was going straight through to London, so we missed that part of the story. But you did get to say hi to them.
We caught them by the bus, and he liked my T-shirt, so that's my that T-shirt isn't getting thrown away now.
How about you? Any final thoughts, Dan?
It's just a great experience. I mean, we went over to Primavera in Porto, and we didn't get to see anyone. We saw a great gig, and we had a good meet-up, but yeah, it would have been nice to have been able to bump into someone, but they were just so busy. So this more than made up for it. 3 gigs in a row. Unbelievable.
Yeah, totally unbelievable. Like, I'm so... I feel so fortunate. I feel so fortunate that I decided to bite the bullet and go. Went broke doing it, but it's totally worth it. And
that would be those 2 pinters that you were drinking at Manchester, JD. 15 quid a pop.
Yeah, we don't have anything like that here. I'll tell you that. We're very puritanical. 1 pint is all you get. But you guys know how to drink, that's for sure. You taught me some lessons.
Just a serious question. When do we think they'll tour again?
That's what I was just going to say. That's what I was just going to ask you guys. Do you think this is the end? If it is the end, I think we went out on a bang, right? But what do you think?
I think
they'll go again, another 2 or 3 years. And I'm not saying that from a financial point of view, because obviously it is reasonably lucrative hitting the road and playing gigs. I just think that as we started the discussion, that they're just having so much fun doing it. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, agreed.
And it's just almost the perfect job for him. Maltmus looks just so different on stage to how he used to. He's relishing it almost, he's almost at peace with that back catalogue as well.
Seems like it, doesn't it?
He spent so long trying to carve a Jigs career, which is equally brilliant but different. And I think he always resented the the fact that those Pavement songs always got the most attention. But I think he's reconciled himself to that now, and whether it's a mellowing with age, it comes to us all. But yeah, he's just enjoying playing that back catalogue. What more can you say?
How about you, Tony?
Fall in line, and it's perfect. So it'd be sad if there were the last gigs, but if there were, they went out with a bang.
Yeah. How about you, Tony?
I think when you look back at Malcolmus's 3 albums that came out kind of over 3 years, I think it was, finishing off with Traditional Techniques, that he's not toured. I think he might still want to tour with that. Groove Denied, he toured in really small venues. And then the last Chicks album,
Sparkle Heart.
Mine's gone blank. Sparkle Heart, which is possibly the best Chicks album. I just think he's so creative that he probably wants to move on to something new. But I also think Pavement are a big name. They're probably more famous now than they were back in the 90s. So the way they headlined Primavera, I think they could maybe plan next summer or the summer after to do a bunch of big festivals, US, North America or Europe, I'm not sure. So I don't think that's the last time they'll play.
I like this.
I don't know if we'll see that same kind of tour again. Just age, families,
right.
But also I think Malcolmus will go on keep on his solo stuff too.
Yeah, I hope so. How about you, Dan?
Again, I don't know. I think it's easier to have no or low expectations, and if it happens, it happens. That's the way I always deal with things. Isn't it at the end of the Watery Domestic with the last 2 words? Like don't expect. So that's what I go with. But I can imagine, hopefully, maybe in another 8-10 years. I don't know. I don't see it being sort of soon. I think these things just require another natural sort of build up again. So who knows? I mean, I'm just wondering what the next thing that's going to be kind of reissued. I mean, there hasn't really been any proper live stuff reissued or anything, has there? So I mean, Zurich is Stained was amazing live. And it always has been such a different track to the actual slanted version. It'd be amazing to have a live version of that on vinyl. Yeah,
I hadn't even thought.
I don't know
if that would be cool. No, go ahead, Tony.
Sorry, Judy. I don't know if you all listened to the 6 Music session that they did.
I haven't listened.
They were talking a wee bit about the film. So they've been filmed at different points on the tour. They were filming at the museum in New York, and they are making a film, so they announced that, and so I don't know when that will be or how that will be released or whatever, but that's going to be it. There's going to be a Pavement film.
Wow! So we get some content regardless. Yeah.
In true Pavement fashion, I think they said look out for it. Summer 25.
Did they really?
Yeah, I think that was Bob's line on the podcast.
All right, fellas. It's been great to talk to you. Stick around after I say goodbye, but it's been great to talk to you, and we'll see you real soon.
Thanks,
Thank
Judy.
you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
She shivered like a
Whoa, mind blown. That was Perfume V live from the Barrowland in Scotland. Before that, we heard Silent Kid from the Roundhouse, the October 23rd show, which was the Sunday. Prior to that, we heard Frontwards from the Barrowland. Unfair, I couldn't find a Euro version of it or a UK version of it, so I played you a version from Brooklyn. That is the October 2nd show. And then we kicked everything off with a stereo from the Roundhouse on October 25th. So that's what I got for you this week. I do want to apologize for the audio quality of some of that interview. The clips were a little all over the place. That's how it goes sometimes when you're a lo-fi podcast. But that's what I got for you. Really just delighted with the way things turned out, and can't wait to do it again someday. Hopefully we get the chance. If you've got any questions or concerns or comments, please shoot me an email, jd@meetingmalcolmus.com. Would love to hear from you. I'll pop in again sometime before the holiday. Might have a nice surprise for you all, but we'll have to wait and see if that all pans out. In the meantime, wash your goddamn hands. Meeting Malcolmus is a weekly affair and is a production of Dover Podcasts and Such. Rate, review, share, and sponsor at meetingmalcolmus.com. Connect with JD at jd@meetingmalcolmus.com. And hey, I'm social. Follow me everywhere at Meeting Malcolmus. Dover Podcasts and Such.